And now it's better for white to capture this knight so that he can create a double pawn structure. But instead, here Anand decides to develop his knight to d2. But guys, instead of knight to f3, in this position here white can actually capture this knight by bishop takes f6. This is because after queen takes f6, now comes queen to h5, targeting this h7 square, and supposed to defend this. If queen to g6, simply white can happily exchanges the queen so that he can bring his knight to e4, attacking this bishop. And if this bishop goes back to suppose on e7, now comes the move rook to d7, bringing this rook into the 7th rank, attacking both bishops. And if bishop takes e4, rook takes e7, and now you can see white has this strong bishop which is eyeing on the king, as well as this knight on g5 which is in a very good square. And in the next move, white is going to double his rook on 7th rank, creating immense pressure over the black position. Okay, so in the actual game, after knight to f3, and as you can see, now white is threatening to capture on f7, and if suppose black is not careful and he plays any move like suppose b5, attacking this bishop. But now in this position, white can actually sacrifice his knight by knight takes f7, attacking this queen. And after suppose king takes f7, now comes knight takes f6, attacking this queen, as well as preparing for a discovered check. And remember one thing, black has to move the queen in such a way that this discover check won't affect it. And this knight is also targeting this bishop. So that's why here the best square for this queen is this b8 square. And white can capture this bishop, but before that we will capture this b5 pawn first, because it is attacking our bishop. And suppose after black captures it back, we will simply capture the pawn bishop to d6, and now you can see this game will continue like this, and this position will be equal. Okay, so in the actual game, after the move knight to e5, here Ruslan goes for knight at d goes to b5, asking for knight exchange, and here Vishy simply brings his knight to h5, asking for knight exchange as well as preparing to push e4. And guys, now in this position here, Anand sacrificed his knight by knight takes f7, and after king takes f7, and here Anand shocks everyone again by sacrificing his another knight by knight takes g7, and by doing this, now you can see black kingside pawn structure gets completely damaged, and now it's better for black to capture this knight. And suppose if game continues like queen to g4 check, taking benefit of this pinned knight, but simply king to h7, queen takes e6, and in the next move white will give a check and this game will continue like this. But after the move knight takes g7, here in this position he decides to bring his bishop to c8, guarding this pawn on e6, but that's a mistake because now white knight can easily escape by going back to this f5 square, which is again a mistake. Instead of going to this f5 square, he must consider to this h5 square. This is because suppose if game continues like knight takes h5, then simply queen takes h5 check, king to f8, queen takes h6 check, king to e8, queen to g6 check, king to d8, queen to g8 check, king to d7, queen takes e6 check, and now you can see this position is completely winning for white. Okay, so in the actual game, after the move knight to f5, here Ruslan goes for b5, attacking this bishop. But guys, instead of the move b5, in this position here black must consider the move queen to f4, targeting this pawn on e4, and to defend this, suppose if white goes for f3, then now comes bishop to c5 check, and the only best move for white is to defend this check by this bishop. This is because suppose if he decides to slide his king, now black will play knight to h5, and now you can see in the next move black will capture this knight by his queen so that he can play knight to g3 check, and by this he will be a knight up, and later he will also grab this queen. Okay, so in the actual game, after the move d5, okay, so here Vishy captures on b5, but guys, instead of capturing on b5, here white must consider this move, which is e5, trying to attack this knight. And suppose if black captured this by his bishop, by his b pawn, now comes knight takes h6 check, king to g6, e takes f6, bishop takes f6, simply queen to e4 check, and if king takes h6, bishop takes f6, and now you can see this position is completely winning for white due to this open structure of this king. Okay, so in the actual game, after this move, and again white has option to push this pawn to e5, but Anand missed this again, and instead he decides to capture this bishop on e7 by knight takes e7, which is a mistake. This is because now black can capture this by simply this bishop simply, which was playing a crucial role for white because it is covering this important c4 diagonal. And suppose if knight takes c8, instead of capturing this knight back, here black will firstly go for c3, attacking this bishop. And after this bishop goes back to c1, now comes queen takes c8, and yep, that's all. Okay, so in the actual game, after knight takes e7, he also missed that move, and instead he decides to capture this knight. And you can see here white successfully pins this knight.
Def- si- that's
And in this position, Ponomariov resigned. This is because now you can see black is forced to exchange this queen. And suppose if he goes for knight to d6, simply e7. And if knight to e8, now simply white can start pushing the other pawns. And now just think, who is going to stop these multiple pawns? No one. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.